Welcome to yet another episode of Facebook Live on the platform of Wow Parenting. Now, today we have a topic which is of immense interest for many parents. We have been getting messages from many parents across saying this is such a needed topic, and I'm so glad that Wow Parenting is picking it up as a part of the series of lives that we do every Wednesday. Now, for the sake of friends who are joining us today, for the sake of friends who will be watching this video very soon, every Wednesday evening, 9:30, we attempt to have a Facebook Live. And here we pick up any one topical issue which is of interest to many parents. So if any one of you has a topic which you want us to cover, we'll be more than happy to cover it for you on one of the Facebook Lives. Today's topic is how do I help in creating, developing bonding between siblings. Now, before we go into how should you develop a bonding between your children, let me take this opportunity to speak to you about a few things which will help you in building a bonding with your own siblings. So your age may be 30, 35, 40, 45, and your brothers and sisters might be 5 years, 3 years, 10 years older or younger to you. Now, here are some very fast, quick fire ideas that I will give to you. And after that, we will move into a 4-point formula, a very solid, very doable, very practical, very easy 4-point formula by which I kind of guarantee to you that you will be able to build super bonding between your children. So what are the 4 points that I suggest for all parents to have between their siblings? Point number 1, create a bonding tradition. This may not be applicable for your children as of now, but for you it is definitely applicable. Now, what do I mean by bonding tradition? I have a very dear friend of mine, somebody who's senior to me by a few decades, but I'm honored to call him my friend. His name is Sri Chandranadanji Bhandari. He runs the BU Bhandari Mercedes-Benz showroom and enough other businesses across the city of Pune, and they have an extraordinary bonding tradition between their siblings. Now, if I am right, everybody, all the siblings are more than 65 years of age. But for the last few decades, whatever happens, every Wednesday evening at 9 p.m., they meet for a coffee in a restaurant called Rupali on FC Road in Pune. They update each other about what's happening in their life. Is there any complication somebody has? What are the accomplishments? What is happening in the children's life? How's the health going on? And just have a gala time with each other. Can you believe that a few decades, 20, 30 plus years, every Wednesday, the siblings have been meeting? Now, this is called a bonding tradition. How about something as simple as every Sunday 9 o'clock you sit with the phone and call your siblings if you're not staying in the same house? How about 10:30 on a Sunday? How about Friday evening, whatever happens, you're going to call each other? How about one dinner every month? How about once a month meeting in one person's house for dinner? How about once in 3 months, if you're staying in different parts of the country, meeting in the same place? If that is not possible, how about a Skype call or a WhatsApp call or a FaceTime call all together? When you do this, your children will see that these relationships with siblings is not just about today and tomorrow, but it's going to last for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And when you know you have to live with somebody for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, are you not going to do the best that you can so that this long journey can go on beautifully well? So, a very strong suggestion to all my parent friends over here: with your siblings, have a bonding tradition. Point number 2, whatever happens, respect each other. Now, I'll speak about this point later on, so I'm not going into the depths of this point. Point number 3, ensure that there is bonding which happens between your children, which means, let's say I have a son, Neeraj, and my sister has 2 sons, Mohit and Sonu. What are the efforts that I take to ensure that Mohit and Sonu and Neeraj bond with each other? Now, maybe ask them to go for shopping together, maybe ask them to solve something together, maybe call all of them and ask for guidance or have a chat or speak to each other about what's happening in each other's life, maybe play a game together. But if I can be instrumental in them bonding with each other, then by default, tomorrow if I have a difference of opinion with my sister or my brother, it will be very easy for us to bridge it because the next generation is bonding so well. And sometimes because the next generation is bonding so well, they ensure that the relationship between the elder siblings, the parents and the bua, the kaka, the mama remains beautifully well. So point number 1, create a bonding tradition. Point number 2, respect. Point number 3, ensure that your children and your siblings' children bond with each other. And point number 4, never fight with another person. Never fight with your sibling for the sake of another person. Never fight with your sibling for a third person. Make it a rule between each other that we are not going to fight for a third person between us. We will not allow a third person to destroy, mar, disturb the relationship that we have with each other. Okay, enough of ideas about what you need to do with your siblings for you to bond with them. Now it's time for us to move on to the topic of today's discussion, and that is, how do you make your children bond with each other? I promised you a formula. I promised you a formula that works brilliantly well, and here is the formula. The formula is called pay rent to each other. Pay rent to each other? Yes. Now, what do I mean by rent? Well, as you have seen in the last few Facebook Lives, we attempt to create an acronym about a philosophy, about an idea, so that it's easy for you to remember. So last time we discussed about to avoid conflicts, avoid SLAP, and we expanded SLAP into S-L-A and P, meaning something. Over here, rent, R-E-N-T, means something. R. R stands for what? R stands for respect. My darling parents, please listen very carefully to what I have to say. Let's say, for example, your 2 children have some kind of a fight between each other. We have 2 children at home, Neeraj and Mehak, and let's say Neeraj and Mehak are fighting with each other about who should wind up the kitchen. And Mehak has an exam, so Mehak is telling, Bhaiya, you don't help me at all, it's your responsibility also. There's no difference between boy and girl. Why are you partial? Why are you not doing good work? And let's say, for example, there is a fight between them. And we come to know about it. They are not respecting each other. They are looking at each other with disrespect. They are glaring at each other. Now, in this situation, how do you make them respect each other? Now, this is what we have done. This is what has produced beautiful results. And this is what I suggest you do with your children, which will also produce fantastic results. Make the children sit and then ask each other a very simple, beautiful question. And the question is this. So let's say this is how the conversation is going on at home, and it is me, my wife Bharti, Neeraj and Mehak who are sitting. And I look at Neeraj and I say, you didn't like what Mehak said, right? And Neeraj would say, I didn't like it at all. I help her all the time. That day when she was in trouble, I helped her. That day she didn't understand the subjects, I helped her. When she makes statement like, Bhaiya, you never help me, it really hurts me and I get irritated. That's not the way to treat. She's telling a lie. She's not telling the truth. And he wants to go on a rampage about how wrong Mehak was. And I say, I understand. But just tell me one thing. Forget about this for some time. Is there any reason for which you think you can have a little iota of respect for your sister? मतलब ठीक है, इसमें ये बुराइयां हैं, ये ठीक नहीं है, ये गलतियां हैं, लेकिन उसमें कुछ है क्या जिसकी वजह से तुम उसकी इज्जत कर पाओगे? Is there anything in your sister which is worthy of respect? Now we are not looking at the complete person, we are looking at a small part maybe. He doesn't like the direction of this conversation. He doesn't like the way the conversation is going on from the issue to something which is by the side. But his parents are present, so he says, I like the focus with which she has complete devotion to her studies. I really respect her for having that single-minded pursuit of studies. I really respect her for that. I said, wow, thank you so much. And I look at Mehak and ask, Mehak, I also understand that what has happened is not the way you wanted things to happen. I understand you have a lot of complaints from your brother. I understand your brother has not behaved the way you expected him. So right now you are also wild with anger. You want to fight with him. You want to probably break the relationship for a long, long time. But can you tell me, the way your brother did, putting aside all these differences, is there any way, any reason for you to respect him even a little bit? कुछ है क्या उसके अंदर which is worthy of respect? And she would say, the way he balances his life, I really respect him. He has time for friends, he has time for work, he has time for studies, he has time for family, he has time for health, he has time for sleep, he has time to see movies, he has time to play mobile games. I'm amazed with the way Bhaiya has time to do everything that he wants to do. And I am taking up studies and I find it difficult to balance. I really respect my brother for his ability to balance everything that he wants to do. You know, with this small exchange, suddenly I find the two of them are looking at each other and smiling. And I don't have too much work to do now. All that I need to do is now tell them there are times when there will be differences of opinion. There are times when you will believe that the other person is completely wrong. Now, the beauty of a person is, even when you find the other person is wrong, can you continue to respect them? If yes, then both of you will be able to find a solution. If no, then both of you will end up playing a blame game. And the beauty with which you look at each other will get shaky. मजा नहीं आएगा फिर. So, from today onwards, can you make a determined effort that you're going to respect each other no matter what? They were a little taken aback, no matter what. And then I said, here is the second part of the key. E, rent, R-E-N-T, R stands for respect, E stands for empathy. So I told to them, the enemy of empathy is ego. Ego says, you are wrong. Empathy says, I would have done it differently, you have a different style. Ego says, I am hurt by what you did. Empathy says, if you would have done this thing this way, I wouldn't have got hurt. So next time, would you be able to solve it this way? In other words, ego thinks about the problem and empathy thinks about the solution. Ego says things are destroyed. Empathy says we have to build a bridge. Through gestures, through conversation, through these examples, through a live demo of how in the beginning the conversation had two enemies, at the end of the conversation they're willing to shake hands and understand each other's point of view. Now this live demo is all about empathy. So I told my children, next time onwards, let's live life not with ego but with empathy. In the presence of empathy, respect will become very, very easy. In the absence of empathy and the presence of ego, someday we'll respect, which will be high. Next day we will disrespect, there will be fights. Maza nahi aayega. And that is where the third key becomes very important. Maza, naughtiness. N stands for naughtiness. R for respect, E for empathy, and N for naughtiness. Yeah, darlings, if there is no naughtiness between the siblings, what is that relationship all about? You should pull each other's leg, you should tease each other, you should open the lock of the password of each other's mobile, you should snoop on each other, you should stalk each other and see who is going around with whom and what's happening in whose life. You should make some tukkas in your head and leave some blind arrows. Who knows, it might hit bullseye. Once in a way, you should take out old photographs and talk about it. You should look at each other, talk about each other's antics, play some games, have a lot of fun. But let there be naughtiness in that relationship. Naughtiness makes things alive. Naughtiness is like a strong magnet which pulls pieces of iron towards each other. Naughtiness will pull two of you towards each other. N stands for naughtiness and T stands for transparency. Transparency means we will be honest with each other and we are going to tell each other what we are going through, where we need help, and what are the differences of opinion that we have. Now, transparency with empathy. Transparency without empathy might lead to ego and therefore disrespect. Naughtiness goes out, whole rent gets cancelled. What do I mean by that? Let's say I have to be honest with my brother and I tell him, you behave like an idiot. Now my transparency will hurt the other person. Can I do transparency with empathy? So there can I tell him, yaar, normally you would have behaved in a much better way. Can you explain to me what happened? Because I think you have much higher standards than what you did right now. I could also be transparent and say, Rakesh, your levels are of a different maturity altogether. Meko bata, if you behave like this, there must be some reason. Kya ho gaya? Did you have a bad day? Is there a pile of emotions on your head that you could not control the situation? Kya hua? Bata na, mere se baat to kar. Now there is transparency, but transparency is with empathy, and therefore the relationship becomes stronger. To sum up today's session, when we bond with our siblings, we keep in mind tradition, respect. We are not going to fight for a third person between each other, and we will see if we can help our children also bond. When it comes to making our children bond with each other, we will remember rent. Whatever happens, respect. Even when there is a difference of opinion, respect. Respect and bring in empathy. Enemy of empathy is ego. In the presence of ego, it will become disrespect. So in the absence of ego, it is always going to be empathy, which is going to be beautiful. To strengthen empathy, let's bring in naughtiness, and to ensure that we have enough occasions to talk, discuss, share, ideate, let's be transparent with each other. And when we do all this, respect, empathy, naughtiness, and transparency, your siblings will have a very strong bonding with each other. We had two questions which came just before we started our live. I'm just going to read out those questions. Question number one from a friend is, I have only one kid and the same is the case with my two brothers who are staying in different locations. It becomes a big challenge for kids to accept their brothers as good as real brothers. Kindly guide. Now, I come from a family where we never had this concept of real brothers and cousin brothers. It was only brothers and sisters. How does it make a difference whether they are born to my parents or my uncle's children? कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता था. Because we are laughing together, we are paying rent to each other. You pay rent to each other and there will be bonding. Now it's up to you to be creative enough to find out how is it that you can help them to create a bonding with each other by rent. Now, for example, just offhand, can I speak about uh, how good the other person is in some aspect? Can you speak about what kind of a positive impact your child had on that sibling? Can you speak about how the child was being appreciated by the uncle or the aunt, and therefore he feels that you will be a good influence on your children? Think about how is it that you can make the two children respect each other, be empathetic, be naughty with each other, and be transparent. Distance or two different siblings producing the children, I'm telling you, can be bridged with this beautiful, simple formula. Another question. My younger son starts hitting my elder son if he doesn't play with him. Now, this is where the elder child has to bring in empathy. You know, if the younger child is beating the elder one, and I assume the elder child's age is 8 and the younger child is 3. So obviously the 3-year-old child cannot beat the 8-year-old child black and blue. All that the elder brother needs to do is either protect himself or hold the other person's hands. And keep talking to him with respect. This is not going to work. This is not the right thing to do. Be patient. Speak to me properly. Respect. So again, the formula is a time-tested formula. RENT. And it's going to work with you. I just saw another very beautiful question that has come. How do I make sure that they value each other? They don't take each other for granted. Like when they are with friends, they forget siblings and neglect them. Respect. When there is naughtiness between each other, transparency with each other, even if they don't meet each other for 6 months, 8 months, a year or 2 years, in case we are living in different locations, the bonding remains strong. And today in the world of technology, come on, through Facebook Live, through WhatsApp Live, through video chats, how does distance make any difference? Rent. Pay rent to each other and the bonding is going to be phenomenal and beautiful. Wish you all the best. Thank you for joining us. One small announcement. Next Wednesday, we will not be able to have a Facebook Live. I'm going on a spiritual retreat where for 5 days I'll be completely off technology. But the week after that, and then for Wednesdays together, every evening, 9:30, I'll wait for you with another topic. And let me remind you, in case you want us to take a session, please let us know what is the topic. And in case you have liked this video, please ensure that you like it and share it with as many people as possible. Thank you so much. Love you all. All the best.